But anyway, this is part 2 of Isabel's amazing interview with Adam, in which he talks about the strange, mysterious case of the disappearing Albanians. Check it out.
My name's Adam, I'm 32 years old, and I've worked in a migrant hotel from 2021 until 2024.
How did you like the job?
It was different, it was very different, because I've worked in hotels all my life, so I thought it would be more of the same. Made a couple of good friends, but then there was also a lot of stuff that I thought people need to know about this.
That actually picks up on something I was going to ask, which is how well did you get to know some of them? How long would they be there for? And did you actually build up some nice relationships?
Yeah, but it's a big variation, you know, it's A to Z. Some of them were there for a matter of days. The longest was there 18 months. Some of them absolutely cracking guys, in my opinion. I've got them on Facebook, I've got them on Instagram. I've heard the stories, you know, I'd check it every now and then, seeing what they're doing, etc. Some of them, you know, they've spat in my face, they've pushed me to the ground. They caught them trying to sexually assault a female member of staff. So it's a massive range.
So some migrants would stay a long time, you know, many, many months, but others were barely there. I mean, I think from what you said, some sort of hardly stayed a night. Yeah,
so the rule was when I was there, they would have to check in once every 3 days to keep the room.
Right.
A couple of months before my hotel closed, they actually increased to 7 days because they said they didn't have enough time to see family or tour the country or do whatever they want, etc.
So just to be clear, so they only have to, when you say check in, is it literally sign a form, or how does it work?
Usually they do it at a meal time, so when they come in for a meal, there'll be a circle officer and they say room 110, and then they'll get a tip.
Right, and you only had to do that once a week?
Yeah,
to keep the hotel running?
Yeah, once every 7 days. And some of these guys, we had a couple of guys who would only come on a Sunday evening. So they'll come on Sunday evening, have dinner, and then you'd see them leave, and then they wouldn't come back until the next Sunday afternoon. So you would see them for a couple of hours every 7 days just to keep their room, just in case they wanted. They must be staying somewhere else, but then Circle would be paying for that room for the full 7 days.
And what about, you know, the sort of different nationalities, different groups? They've obviously got different ways of being. What did you notice about who would stay longer, who would stay shorter?
So there was, you know, at the peak, I think we had 18 different nationalities.
Wow.
A lot of them were Middle Eastern, North and East Africa, a couple of Central Africas, but we even had guys as far as El Salvador and Vietnam.
Wow.
2022, we had a lot of Albanians come over. And with the Albanians, it became a running joke. I mean, it's not actually that funny, but it was actually a joke in the hotel how the 50 to 60 that we had, none of them stayed more than 48 hours. The most interesting one, I'd say, is Circle got a call. Obviously, I didn't work for Circle, but obviously we liaise quite well. And they said, we've got 16 Albanians coming over from Gatwick, whether it's just Gatwick Airport or Gatwick Town, I don't know. So they're coming over in 2 minibuses. So I said, okay, so we've got the rooms ready. A couple of hours later, the Circle get a phone call. Apparently stopped off at the M6 services and 4 had just run out.
Right. So that went down to, what was it, 16 minus 4, so 12. 12 are coming.
So 12 turn up on the grounds. When the doors open, another 3 just run off straight away.
Right.
So are we down to...
They were down to 9 now.
They're down to 9. So these 9 get inducted by Serco, get given the rooms. 3 hours later, another 5 leave.
Wow.
And just walk straight out the front door.
Wow.
Next morning, there's 4 left. They come down and have the breakfast, and we're like, how long are these guys got to stay? They literally had the breakfast, packed the bags, and while they disappeared into the rooms, I see this 7 Series with new 7 Series blacked out windows, like 80 grand car. We're all looking like, who's this guy here? Anyway, the 4 Albanians go out, headstone, with the bags. They walk to the car, and I said to security, the circle officers, I went, the last of them guys are leaving. They went, okay. I went, are you not going to stop them? And they said, this isn't a prison. If they want to find alternative accommodation, we're not here to stop them. I says, well, where are they going? And they said, well, if they don't tell us, how would we expect it to know? And then they got in the car and never be seen again. And this happened 5, 6, 7 times, up to the point where you had the Albanians and the circle going, you know what? I'm not even going to put them on the system. until they're here a couple of days. I'm going to leave the paperwork on the side because it's not worth my time popping them onto the system properly, because we all knew 48 hours maximum and they'd be gone to be never seen again, and nobody knows where they are, I'm guessing, to this day.
So talk about the general standards of behaviour in the hotel. I'm just thinking, like, on any given day, was it usually quite calm and everything just sort of ticks along? Or on an average day, would there be some form of trouble?
Yeah, so the hotel I worked at, it was actually known for being one of the quieter ones.
Right.
So day to day, it was pretty quiet. A lot of the gentlemen we have, they would leave at 7, 8 in the morning, and then they wouldn't return till 6 o'clock at night for dinner time.
Where do you think they went during those times?
Potentially illegal working, or I couldn't say, to be honest, where they went, but they definitely have inroads to be out for the day. Every so often, when you will get a new SU, which is service users, it's a circle term, and what would say they would upset the apple cart. So what one of the asylum seekers that were basically behaved badly in another hotel, they would send them to a good hotel just to try and put them with good people in it, and they may calm down. But every now and then it would upset the apple cart quite well. If
an asylum seeker, one of your service users, behaved badly, what could you do about it?
So all the behavioural stuff was done by Serco. If they broke the rules, they would get a warning. 3 warnings and you're out. If you didn't sign in for 3 days, when it used to be 3 days rather than 7, you would get what you call kicked out, and you would lose the room.
Right.
So however, with that, you think, okay, if they're there, they've lost a hotel room, they're going to be homeless.
Yeah.
So the process was, I got told this directly from Serco, they would tell the asylum seeker, you have to go to the local police station, declare yourself homeless and you're an asylum seeker, and then they will ring the Home Office Serco and pop you back into the system, and they'll put you in another hotel. So if me or you, God forbid, we ever become homeless, if you go to the police station and say I'm homeless, I think they say, what are you going to do? What do you want us to do about it?
Yeah.
But if you say if you're homeless and asylum seeker, they legally have to house you.
Wow.
So then they will just pop you in another hotel.
So it's a merry-go-round, or not very merry for some of the people involved.
Yeah.
And how do you feel now, a bit of time has passed as well, just about the whole system? The government keeps saying it's going to shut down migrant hotels by the end of, I think it's, within the end of this parliament, so by 2029 probably. And those asylum seekers will be housed in different settings. Do you think that's a good thing, or have you got mixed feelings about that?
It's a completely broken system. So when if they close a hotel and then you have 1,000 come in the next day, the problem is now with the backlog. So I'm still speaking to a couple of the asylum seekers who've been here 3.5 years and their asylum claim isn't being processed. So we're housing them for them 3.5 years. Even if we reject them, we've housed them for 3.5 years for no reason. So you need to speed up the asylum claims. You need to also make sure people are genuine, because from what I'm seeing, a lot of them are just coming with a story. They're going to a human rights lawyer and they pick out 5 stories. It's like, okay, I'll pick out story 3.
Yeah.
So the whole process needs to be sped up, and basically at the end of the day, maybe stop them coming onto the shores from full stop. Because once they're on land, it's so hard to deport them either from human rights, or we don't have returns agreements with other countries.
Yeah.
A Serco spokesperson said asylum seekers in hotels are allowed to enter and exit the premises as they wish. If an asylum seeker is noted as being absent from the site for a period of longer than 7 days, this is reported to the Home Office in line with our contractual obligations. People are only asked to leave our accommodation once the Home Office has made a decision about their asylum claim.
Still with barrister and social commentator Stephen Barrett, but welcome to the show, the brilliant conductor of that excellent interview, Isabel Oakeshott. Thanks again, Isabel, for a remarkable series of revelations, really, from this guy, Adam. I mean, the disappearing Albanians. I mean, Albanians are such a significant portion of the migrants that come into this country. For example, in 2022, 12,600 Albanians crossed the Channel. But what Adam is indicating is that many of them just disappear. I've heard these stories before. You know, the untold story of the migrant crisis is the number of migrants who arrive here in these boats, get billeted in a nice hotel, treat it as just a place to kind of freshen up. So they'll wash and shower and shave, and you know, as for the men, who knows what they'll do. No, seriously. So they wash, shower and shave, have a dinner, go down for breakfast the next day, and then just disappear. Well, the Albanians are obviously doing this on an industrial scale. We're hearing about, you know, BMW 7 Series limousines outside these hotels. The Albanians finishing breakfast into the flash cars, disappearing into the sunset, never to be seen again. Where do you think they go?
Well, I think we need to call this what it is. These are criminal gangs, and they are quite probably part of the whole people trafficking network. You know, our understanding of what is really going on in northern France is pretty limited, I would say. I've been doing quite a lot of work on this in recent weeks, and I'll be bringing more to talk on that subject. But you know, this is far more complex than people imagine. This isn't the case of you know, a bunch of impoverished people scraping together as much as they can to pay for their fare to come over to the UK, where they live blameless lives. It's very different to that, but I'll say more about that later. What I would say about Adam's interview there is I actually hadn't realised that asylum seekers were not required to actually use their hotel rooms. I mean, I think this is completely outrageous. I mean, either you're fleeing war and terror and you're grateful to be given refuge in the UK at the expense of the British taxpayer, and you need that hotel room, or you don't. You don't get to come and go. What kind of insanity is that? You either need it and you accept it, or you don't. And if you don't need it, then you're not an asylum seeker. You can't have it both ways. And yet we have got a system in which not only do you, in the past, it was sort of, you had to check in every 3
days. Now it's 7.
And that's pretty generous.
Soon it'll be a fortnight. Well, it's a really slapdash system. Let's bring in a legal brain, shall we? Stephen, what do you make of this? Because what Isabel and Adam are sort of revealing is we're presiding over a system whereby these people, be they Albanian or I guess other nationalities as well, break into our country illegally. We then put them in these hotels, announce, well, they're not prisoners, they're free to come and go as they wish, and many of them do go. So we basically say, welcome to the country, here's a nice hotel, freshen up, and then they disappear into the national ether, never to be seen again. So what we're doing as a government, as a country, is sponsoring illegal entry into this country on a long-term basis. What's going on here?
Yes, well, I think the first point to make is to give huge credit to Isabel, because I strongly suspect online people will say incredibly rude things about her. But it is remarkable that of the journalistic
especially
class,
me.
Well, of the journalistic class, only she shows interest in this issue. Yeah. But I think the public need to know an awful lot about this, and the public have every right to know about this. If anything made my blood boil, it was the word service users. This is absolutely outrageous. These are criminals who break into our country, and the only reason they can disappear, Kevin, is because we have rules about whether you can work or not work. They're obviously going into criminality. There is nowhere else that these people are going, and that will be the drugs trade, it will be other types of illegal working. I strongly suspect, I have a lot of sympathy for a lot of these young men, because I think they end up working in those car washing places that we now seem to have everywhere across the land. When I was a child, machines washed cars, not young gentlemen who no doubt work for tuppence and live in a slum. I mean, let's be honest about this. We are importing a slave class, we are importing criminality, and we're paying for the entirety of this joke. And, you know, I don't have very long left, so just flag the veterans. Every single town's got homeless veterans, and they don't get treated like this. Yeah. Why on earth can't we treat our veterans? You know, I've got a poppy on. Why on earth can't we treat our veterans like this?
Absolutely. So, Isabel, as I was just saying, what we're doing here as a nation is essentially, this is state-sponsored illegal entry of this country. Come on in, we'll put you in a hotel, and then you just disappear. That's against the law. And yet
Okay.
we are presiding over that system almost officially. It's ridiculous.
Well, here's a really simple solution. If we can't in fact detain and deport these people, how about they're forced to wear electronic tags? You know, the Serco say they're not prisoners. I actually think they should be. If you break into our country, you should be detained. That's what other countries do. Why should we treat them in such a luxurious way that you get total liberty just to disappear?
Yeah, what we need to do, Stephen, I think you and I have discussed this before, as I say, a lot of these lefties, they go, oh, you see, the thing is once these migrants, these cross-channel migrants, set foot on Dover Beach or Folkestone Beach, they become instantly legal because they apply for asylum. No, 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 they don't. That is a political decision. We've made a political decision to override the fact they've broken our law. And now we learn from Adam and Isabel that this law breaking that we choose politically to turn a blind eye to continues to the extent that they just disappear into the country. This is madness.
Just don't let them tell you that the laws dictate which policies your country has. Okay, I am a lawyer. I am a servant in that position, not a master. I don't tell you what policies on immigration your country should have. A proper lawyer should just draft lawfully the ones that you want to have. Any policy that the British people want on migration can be lawfully enacted. It just has to be written correctly. That's all. And that to be honest, is not that tricky. I mean, I don't want to pretend I've got magic powers. It's not that hard. You're non-lawyers, but you could learn how. You know, it doesn't take that long to learn how to do this. But that's the great switcheroo, where for years they've been able to say, oh, well, the law says, or international law says, and therefore you've got to be treated like a complete joke. But our nation is being rinsed.
Yeah.
There is no other word for it.
That's a good way of putting it, isn't it, Isabel?
It is, and I absolutely love what you say, Stephen. And I'm sure you could advise a future government to do how to do things better than this sorry set of clowns is managing. Surely it can't get worse than this.
They really can't. Well, listen, well, both of you, thank you. Well, Isabel, we'll talk tomorrow night. Thanks for this amazing interview. Adam, what a story, and it's ongoing. Stephen, always a pleasure to have you on the show.